about our lineage. Who are we? We're Black Americans. I can trace my family back, my ancestors back to the 1700s. Okay? So we're Black Americans. We have been here since the founding of the country. That matters, does it not? Does it matter that our parents, our ancestors were here since the founding, since the 1600s, since the 1700s? Is that relevant? Is that significant? Yes, I think it is. Well, I mean, my ancestors didn't slave and sweat and toil and all that hard work that they did for Joanne Reed to have a job. She's from the Congo. They worked for Black Americans to have jobs. They did all that for Black Americans, not people from the Congo who are first generation Americans. Not even Kamala Harris, who's Indian American and Jamaican.
Right.
My ancestors didn't work for Kamala Harris to have these benefits. They worked for Black Americans to have benefits. I think even Obama is not even a Black American. This is why using color, the skin color, is not sufficient. It's confusing.
Right.
And this is why I say white Americans and Black Americans have been in America the longest since its founding. And that is significant. That matters. That history matters. And so this is why, and I don't know why so many, and I want to get into this issue about Black women, Black American women supporting. I know it's nonprofit, but Black American women don't understand most of them, some do, but most of them don't understand. They think everything is about skin color. And that's a superficial analysis of the situation. They're not looking at the history. They don't know the history. And they're just so wedded to the political left position, embracing all of their policies. And their policies have been detrimental to Black America. They need to get away from that embrace of all these policies that are the detriment. So what I'm thinking, they're not doing their homework. They're not reading this cast your bucket where you are. Cast down your bucket where they're not reading this history. They're being superficial. They're just watching the television and going along with what the politicians say. That is not sufficient. About our
I don't mind the term African American. I don't want to be called African American.
Why is that?
I'm not African.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
As you're aware, in 1912, Dr. Walter Plecker became the first director of the Bureau of Vital Statistics. But he was part of the eugenics movement, which was a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and called colored.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
Well, it was referred to as colored.
The most significant thing here is to reveal the much greater amounts of Native American ancestry that are present within the African American population than most people realize, because they might have been misled by the use of terms like mulatto and also people of color.
Some of us started here in this land. Everybody wasn't brought over from Africa.
It comes as a great shock to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. That the Indians were you.
And we're here. Sorry, guys. A bit of a technical difficulty, but we are here. We are here. Happy Educational Friday. Shout out to everybody in the building. I wanted to bring to you guys something that I found out last week that I knew nothing about from my own city where I was born and raised, and it is the New Orleans 4. Shout out to everybody in the building. Y'all come on in here. Happy Educational Friday. Please get the likes up. Please, please, please. Now, I want to talk about the New Orleans 4. A lot of you guys may have heard of it. I didn't know about it until last week for Essence, when my best friend went to a seminar and they spoke. So apparently, I know y'all are familiar with this photo. Hold on. If you're not familiar with this photo, you're definitely familiar with this one. Okay, so you guys recall back in the day when they were integrating schools, they had the Ruby Bridges story. Ruby Bridges is the little black girl in New Orleans that went to school. She was the first. Remember, They teach us one thing, and then we got to go back and relearn it. This is what Educational Friday is all about. Okay? So they told us that it was Ruby Bridges. Ruby Bridges, she's the one. She was going down to the schoolhouse. They was like yelling at her, screaming like all this stuff, racial slurs, and the poor little baby girl, and whoop the whoop the whoop. And we did learn about this. Not much in school, but still, we learned. Now, coming from New Orleans, like any other state, they have local history, they have state history, right? So I took in college. Now, mind you, I am a history buff. I love learning history. And so when I got to college, I took every history you can take because I wanted to be a history major, no cap. And one of the local histories, or some of the local histories I took, was New Orleans history, Louisiana history. It was another one, Southern history, and that may not be the name of it, but I took all of the history you can name. And in none of these books that I find literally none of the stuff we be talking about. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't find none of this. All of this money I paid for all these classes, all these courses, all these A's, and I didn't learn about none of this. And if I did learn about something, it was what they wanted me to know. And since I found out about the New Orleans Four, I was like, I had to come over here and tell y'all. Now, they told us that it was just Ruby Bridges, but it wasn't just Ruby Bridges. It was 4 little girls. And here are the 4 little girls. I want to say this is Ruby Bridges right here. Now, over at Educational Friday, welcome if you're new. Over at Educational Friday, we talk about the nuance of the situation to the fullest. We don't just look at the surface level things. Now, this is what I don't understand. And we're going to get into a few videos I got. And you're going to hear from we're going to watch a little small documentary on them, the whole 4. Then we're going to watch some accounts from the ladies now because they're grown. And then, yes, they are still alive and they are still in New Orleans to this day. I'm trying to get my friend to get with, I forget the lady name. I think her last name is Etienne, one of the women. I'm trying to get with her to see if she can get me an interview because I would love to talk to her because she spread insight at the Essence Festival thing. But what was I saying? Either way, these 4 girls were familiar with Ruby Bridges. We weren't familiar with the other 4. And you could ask yourself why. That's where I was going. I like to look at the nuance of the entire situation. And I understand that the civil rights movement was for television. If you're new here, welcome. The civil rights movement was a televised, propagandized situation, blasted all over the world, Craig. Not the city, not the country, but the world. What the civil rights movement did, and I'm going to explain this to you. If you haven't seen any of my Martin Luther King videos or any of my civil rights videos, I'm going to tell you how this thing worked. So there were things happening in real time and in real life in the 50s and 60s during the civil rights movement. Things were actually happening, but they needed a way to capture these things and display it to the public, so that they can see what's happening. Now, that's the cute version. Okay. Either way. So then 50s, late 50s, I want to say early 60s, guess what happens? There's a boom of television sales in America. Everybody in their mom got a TV just in time for your new reality TV show called The Civil Rights Movement. Now, let me tell you why this is. And this is no disrespect to the elders, no disrespect to the ancestors that participated, because some of these people didn't know, okay? But this is literally how this works. So what they were doing was selling TV. This is how it's all connected too. Don't ever get this twisted. Oh yeah, just like today, baby oil and Astroglide is probably flying off the shelves because of the Diddy trial. TVs was flying off of the shelves because everybody wanted to see what was going on with the civil rights movement. Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? It was giving reality TV show tease, if it makes sense. So this is why you saw representations of things and thought they were real. For instance, we spoke about it and linked on this channel. Rosa Parks, she had never had that encounter. As a matter of fact, that entire encounter was staged with Rosa Parks. The entire encounter. Multiple young black girls had the situation where they were arrested for not giving up their seats on the bus, and none of them were highlighted. One of the young ladies, y'all drop her name down in the chat, but one of the girls who really had got it bad, she was 14 and pregnant. So you know what the civil rights leaders told her? We can't use you. Not only did they tell her that, they ghosted her and left her for dead. This is your beloved civil rights movement. We've already talked about it on this channel. Go check my Educational Fridays. They ghosted her and left her for dead. 14 years old. To this day, she's never said who's the father of that child. And back in those days, that tell me it was probably the daddy or the husband, the mama husband, or something like that. That's the type of stuff you take to the grave back then. Okay, but they needed to depict it so that you can see it and feel it. And then think about it. If they blast me all on TV, getting my head knocked between the washing machine and dryer, y'all not gonna care. That's the young lady named Claudette Colvin. That's the real Rosa Parks, okay? So think about it. If you're production, you know how I be doing with Natalie, production. If you're production and you want to depict this to the public, how do you go about it? You're not going to pick somebody who looks like me because the world doesn't sympathize with people who look like me. They don't. But they sympathize with people who look like Rosa Parks. So what they did was have Rosa Parks, Mike, and all of them stage all of that so that it can go on TV. The fact of the matter is, I'm pretty positive Martin Luther King never spent a whole night in jail one of them times. And it's not because of the civil rights leaders or the NAACP. It's because it was staged, allegedly. Speaking of staged, one of the girls, the Miss A10, she spoke about how her and the other two girls' experiences were vastly different from Ruby Bridges. Now, Ruby Bridges is the one they propagandized and gave to us. This is why you always see this photo and you never forget. This is what was propagandized to us. So when we think about school integration, we thinking about this little bitty black girl coming down the steps of the school with the feds and the people out there want to take her heads off. This is what we think. But this is the propagandized version of the school integration that the media wanted you to see. Does that make sense? But then it makes you question, right? And I tell you guys to question everything. Why would they not highlight all four girls? This is a genuine question. If you have four little girls who are integrating a school, and this is national news, world news, why only focus on the one? Why not focus on all four? This is just my question. Now, I have my little, guesses, but I'm just saying. Ask yourself, why would they only show you Ruby Bridges and not the other four? It's rhetorical. You don't have to answer. Okay, now bet. So we got these four girls, and what's happening is Ruby Bridges is becoming the celebrity kid, and not in the sense of like she's having fun, but meaning she's the one on the newspapers, and she's the one that people are running around here like, OMG, this poor little baby, while the other three girls are really the ones with the real boots on the ground. A lot of the things that they were saying was happening to Ruby Bridges allegedly was really happening to the other three. Oh, and by the way, did you guys know that the other three girls, let me show you, these are more coincidences, people. More coincidences, people. You know how I love those. The other three girls, all three of their parents allegedly worked for the post office and in the union. So those three girls, they stayed together. Allegedly. Ruby Bridges was the odd girl out, allegedly. So maybe that's why, I don't know. But hey, I'm just giving you all the coincidences, okay? I'm giving you all the coincidences. If you understand Freemasons, if you understand the powers that be, Illuminati, if you understand what's really happening in the world, then you understand why that coincidence doesn't make any sense. But yeah, all the other three girls, they parents work down at the post office. So I don't know. But they kept them three together, and Ruby was her own thing. Now let's get into a little bit about Ruby and these four girls. Y'all get the likes up on the video. Shout out to everybody in the video, in the channel. I appreciate each and every person on this video. Thank you, William, for being a member for 2 months. Beautiful. And he says, happy Educational Friday. Happy Educational Friday. Thank you, William. I appreciate you. Southern Louisiana Cooking with K. OMG. Thank you so much. You did not have to do that, but you did. Thank you so much for your generous super chat and making it rain. Happy Educational Friday, girl.
I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes.
And shout out to everybody in the building. If you haven't already, I'm sorry, please like the video. I saw a comment that was very interesting, and this needs to be highlighted. This needs to be highlighted. I want to just highlight this comment because this is very, very true in my opinion. And not only Malcolm, to an extent, Martin as well. Both of those brothers got played. Both Malcolm and Martin were played by each separate entity. So you had the Muslims playing on Malcolm, and you had the church and the government playing on Martin. Now, one thing I will say that's different between Martin and Malcolm. Malcolm was completely unsuspecting, or at least I would go out on a limb and say he didn't know. But by the time he figured it out, he just crashed out. But Martin knew a whole lot more than he let on. Now, was he privy to everything? I don't believe so. But Martin knew what he was doing when he was doing it. Martin was actually receiving a check from the government, checking in with the president. Yep, I put the fire out in Nashville. Yep, I put the fire out in Atlanta. Yep, I put the fire out in Mississippi. You get it? He was an actual federal agent. Now, what caused his mad day at the end to start the Poor People's Campaign? Did he not know to what extent he was getting jacked up? I don't know. But, he did start crashing out at the end. Oh, yes, girl. Martin was Obama. And if you notice, hey, 2T, whenever you see people, especially back when Obama first came around, they always put Martin and Obama next to each other. You remember that? Could you imagine if the reason they were putting them next to each other on all these pictures and all these photos was just a nanny boo-boo be playing in y'all face? That would be crazy, right? Crazy word. Let's get into the New Orleans 4. Y'all get the likes up on the video and shout out to everybody in the building. All right, I want to read a really quick article on the New Orleans 4 so y'all can kind of get the gist of what was happening during that time, okay? Shout out to y'all. Get the likes up on the video. Happy Educational Friday. All right, let's get into it. New Orleans School Intergration. Now, mind you, this is coming off of Brown versus Board of Education. All of this is happening simultaneously. And let me tell you something. These are other coincidences. It kind of reminds me of the law being lax just in time for Cassie to file her lawsuit against Diddy. These things are not happening by happenstance, okay? All right, so it goes on to say 1960, 2 years following the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education decision, Federal Court Judge J. Skelly Wright ordered the Orleans Parish School Board to design an effective plan for desegregation of New Orleans public schools. The ruling aroused significant local opposition. However, and parents, school board members, city leaders, and elected officials moved to secure state legislation to overturn Wright's decision. After 4 years of circumventing the court-ordered desegregation, the school board finally put in place a plan to integrate the city's public schools in 1960. So far, 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, and somehow, just by coincidence, happenstance, the powers that be closed their eyes and said, where we going to integrate first? Where we going to integrate first? And then they just landed on New Orleans. Okay, sure. So now they're going to integrate New Orleans. And everybody knows this because they made them come up with a whole plan to come up with the school integration, right? It says the plan called for the integration of 2 New Orleans schools, both located in the impoverished 9th Ward. One a grade per year basis. I'm sorry, on a grade per year basis, beginning with the 1st grade. So this is another thing y'all don't know too. These kids were literally moved from school to desegregate the schools. The same 3 girls. They didn't tell you that. So they only tell you about the one school. But they used these same 3 girls to integrate multiple schools. It was to the point where when they integrated the first school, all the white folks took their kids out of the school. But when they went to the second school, the white folks started beating their kids' ass. Okay? Okay? Yeah, they got their ass whooped at the second school. The first school, the white folks left. The second one, the kids started whooping their ass. And their parents sent them back over and over and over and over. I just don't think I can do it with mine. I just don't. I'm not saying that they right or wrong. I'm just telling you, I'm not scoring my child for life for no damn school integration. No. I'm not going to scar her for life just so she can say she was in the history books for integrating the school. No, ma'am. You know what I'm saying? But to each his own. To each his own. So where was I? Okay, both located in the 9th Ward. Okay, so then it goes on to say, on November 14, 1964, girls shielded and protected by armed United States Marshals integrated the 2 schools. Leona Tate, Tessie Prevost, Gail Etienne, that's the lady my friend was trying to get in touch with, entering McDonald 19, and Ruby Bridges entering William France. Now, that's another thing. They sent Ruby to one school, but sent the other 3 to a whole separate school. Why? If all 4 of these girls have the same objective, and that objective is to integrate these schools, why are you separating Ruby from the other 3? These are just questions I be asking. You know what I'm saying? All right, so boom. Then it goes on to say, in the days following the integration, riots led by staunch segregationists erupted throughout the city, and students' enrollments at the 2 desegregated schools dwindled as parents chose to enroll their children in the city's private schools. The integration of New Orleans public schools drew national criticism from those who condemned segregationists for their hostile reactions and prompted acclaim of American painter Norman Rockwell to paint The Problem We All Live With, which depicts 4 federal marshals escorting 6-year-old Bridges to school on her first day at William France. Okay, so this is a painting. The integration of New Orleans public schools drew national criticism from those who condemned segregationists for the hostile reaction and prompted acclaimed American painter Norman Rockwell to paint The Problem We All Live With, which depicted 4 federal marshals escorting 6-year-old Ruby Bridges. What picture they talking about? Because now they saying that photo was painted. Now, did he paint it from the actual photo? Maybe he did. But this is the photo they talking about. They said a painter came and painted this. Oh, let me show y'all. This is the photo they talking about. A painter painted it. I don't know what that means. All I know is, according to them, they ushered in a painter to come in and paint it. I don't know what it means. I don't know. I'm just telling y'all what the article said. Now, let's be clear. Let's really be clear. Let's really, really be clear. Just because there's a photo don't mean the photo came first. Does that make sense? Just because you see a photo doesn't mean a photo came first. Now, I want to see if I can look up this painting real quick. The Problem We All Live With. Let me see if I can look up that painting. Hold on. Because I've never seen the painting, or maybe I did and I don't remember. Oh, it's another picture. But no, they said it was the one of the 4 girls in the car. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm off. I don't know. The article says, I'm going to read it one more time just so I'm not confused. The article says the integration of New Orleans public schools drew national criticism from those who condemned segregationists for their hostile reactions and prompted acclaimed American painter Norman Rockwell to paint The Problem We All Live With, which depicted 4 federal marshals escorting 6-year-old Ruby Bridges to school on her first day. Maybe it's another photo. I would have to look at it. And when I see it, let me see what I can find when I pull it up. Let me see what pictures they're going to show me. Because I'm looking at it. Look, y'all remember this picture? Well, you may not remember. I know I do. So this painting is painted outside of one of the buildings in New Orleans in the 7th Ward. That's the painting. Okay. Yeah. That's the painting right here. This is the painting they said Norman Rockwell made. So it's not the one of her walking down the stairs. My apologies. It's not this one. Let me show you. It's not this photo. Because that's the one of her leaving from school. The Norman Rockwell painting is this one. Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to be sure. Okay. So this is the Norman Rockwell painting. Okay. Gotcha. Say less. All right. Sorry. Didn't want to confuse nobody. I just had to make sure I was reading that correctly. All right, bet. So this is what we know so far. So far, we know that Ruby Bridges wasn't the only girl. There was actually 3 other girls, and they went to 2 separate schools. Ruby Bridges went to William France. The other 3 girls, went to McDonald number 19. In New Orleans, we have a few McDonald schools, 19, 35, 28, I think. But either way, she went to one of the schools. Now, the 9th Ward was a black infested, and still was up until Katrina, a black infested town. But you got to keep in mind, the Clears had their own schools. So they were sending their children to schools in some of our neighborhoods sometimes, right? So these Clears are sending their children to these 9th Ward schools, but at the end of the day, they're better schools than not better schools. Let me take that back. At the end of the day, these people are sending these children to these schools in these black neighborhoods, but they are white-only schools. So now it's time to desegregate the schools, and they need, what do you say it? They need actors. They need actors. So they go and grab these people to introduce their children to this. And I'm just saying, that's how I believe it took place. Because these children, although they were actually desegregating the school, not to take that away from them, because they were actually doing that. But these people, these children were kind of like paid agents, if you make sense. Kind of like paid agents. Like Martin Luther King was a paid agent to go around all these black places that are having uprising and calm the blacks down. It was almost like their parents, really, not the kid. Well, technically the kids. But I'm pretty sure the parents were the ones getting the check, if one was given. But it's given that. You know what I mean? It's given employee. You already work for the government. You work for the post office. Hello? Is this thing on? You already work for the government because you work for the post office. So it's easier to grab you than anybody else. So just think, the 3 who stuck it by, them 3, their parents all work down to the post office. That's all I can tell you. All right. Now, I want to start with some videos. Let's get into a little bit about the girls, okay? Where do I start? Let's start with Ruby Bridges' story. Let's do that. I want to show y'all Ruby Bridges' story, and I want y'all to see how I want you to see in real time, you guys, how we have been miseducated and how easy it is if you don't know what you're looking for to miseducate people. Meaning, if I don't know the whole story about the New Orleans 4, about school desegregation, I would never know to go look up who else was involved in school desegregation. I would only take the word of what's been taught to me in schools, which is Ruby Bridges is the little girl who started and kicked off the desegregation of schools movement, right? So I want you guys to see how they talk about Ruby Bridges. Now, I haven't watched this video. I don't know if he's going to mention the New Orleans 4. I hadn't heard of him until a week ago. But I want you to see how they talk about Ruby Bridges and how they make her like a lone character. You know what I mean? And ask yourself, when you start hearing these things that they're saying, ask yourself, why are they trying to make this young girl, this little bitty girl, a lone character like this? Why, if there's 4, why not tell us about all 4? So check it, get the likes up on the video, check out the video.
Get you thinking. The magnitude of that moment did not escape the nation's view. 6-year-old Ruby Bridges and 4 federal marshals.
We've been sent by the President of the United States, and we are here to escort you to school today.
The governor of the state decided that
I will not force my people to integrate against their will.
I didn't want to go to school with them.
Going through this kind of living hell, what would you expect?
Crowds of protesters lined the streets.
Teachers at the school refused to instruct her.
Governor George Wallace, who blocked by literally standing in the door.
I say to keep those kids out of school.
200 people waiting.
Nigga, they got the governor down there, my nigga. Nigga, the feds had to come down there and make them open the school doors. When I tell you top tier acting, my nigga. Now, mind you, they not telling us it's 3 other babies doing this at this time. All they telling us is about Ruby Bridges. They never told us while Ruby Bridges is getting all this camera time, is 3 other babies right 5-10 minutes away that's getting pulverized by some clear kids. They didn't tell us that, though. Check it out.
At 8:30 in the morning to tell her they were going to kill her.
Then they had a machine gun beside their guns. They
threatened to poison Ruby.
President of the United States sent troops.
You are one of my heroes. I'm here because of you.
The governor called the National Guard.
All because of just one little girl.
He pulled his gun to shoot. Things were going.
All because of how many little girls, sir? Remember, we just found out there's 4 little girls. But watch what the man said. All because of how many little girls, sir?
He pulled his gun.
All because of just one little girl.
He pulled his gun to shoot. Things were going to get really worse.
I can't believe this kind of stuff happens.
I would like to know what's happening to her.
Until now, she has never told the full story.
I tried 5-factor meals so you don't have to. Here's what I'd order again. All right, let's get into it. Packed with protein, tasted way better than
of what happened to her.
When they knocked on the door, my parents opened the door, and I remember standing there and seeing these 4 very tall white men. I remember them saying that we're federal marshals. We've been sent by the President of the United States, and we are here to escort you and your daughter to school today. I found myself in the car driving this very short drive to this new school, and the minute we turned the corner, I saw what I thought was Mardi Gras.
Can I ask too, this is just out of curiosity, and part of my ignorance, if I've never seen it, why hasn't Ruby Bridges been more vocal about the other 3 girls? Like, if she knows, and I'm pretty sure they've met, if she knows that there were 3 other girls, why would Ruby Bridges tell her story? She never mentioned that it was me, it was 3 other girls, this is what's happening over here with me, but y'all should see the other girls. They were doing this. Like, why wouldn't she do that?
There were so many people standing out in the middle of the street, and they were screaming and shouting and throwing things.
I draw the line in the dust, and I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
The car door opened, and those federal marshals, they grabbed my hand, and I remember them saying, "Ruby, walk straight ahead and don't look back."
I say to the mothers to keep their kids out of school all together. We're white people. We don't want them to go to school.
one of the city policemen, he pulled his gun to shoot. And everybody said they knew probably to kill me. So they said if they killed the mother, the child wouldn't have went.
200 people waiting at 8:30 in the morning to tell her they were going to kill her. 200 people in the afternoon telling her they were going to kill her.
The crowd would come and they would bring a small baby's coffin, and they put this black doll inside of the coffin. And
another thing too, from what I heard through my friend who was at the seminar, they're saying that all that stuff that was out there for Ruby Bridges, allegedly, that wasn't outside the school Ruby Bridges was at. They say that what was happening outside the school where the other three babies went. So they said they took what was going on. This is all alleged. I got to get the lady. They said they took what was happening outside the school that the other 3 kids went to. They was outside with that madness and that BS. And they said they edited on video to make it seem like it was what's happening to Ruby Bridges. Allegedly. I didn't say it. This is what they said.
They would march around the school and I would have to pass it to get inside of the building. And I used to have nightmares about the coffin.
This is a people's movement. It doesn't make any difference whether the major politicians are going to support you or not. If they don't support us in this movement to take back our government and give it to us and let us run our own institutions, those who stand in the way are liable to get run over.
When I got inside of the building, I remember it being very quiet.
I received a call from the superintendent's office and asking me if I would like to take a first grade position. That morning when I arrived, of course, the anger and the hostility was palpable. I was told that if I went downstairs, I would meet my student. So I walked down to a cavernous basement area of the school. Those doors instantly opened, and amidst this towering presence of federal marshals stood the most beautiful little girl one could ever dream of seeing, looking so delicate, so unaware of the mantle for change she wore that day. And as I went over toward her to introduce myself, she came forward, and I think she felt she was pretty special. And she was, and she looked that way. She was beautiful.
Did you guys know, and I have to stop for commentary because YouTube has been cracking down on this stuff. But did you guys know that blacks wasn't trying to go to school with whites just as much as whites wasn't trying to go to school with blacks? Did you know that they only bought in, allegedly, the busing system, allegedly, because they had to force people's kids into these integrated schools? Think about that for a quick second. Black people didn't want to go to school with clear people no more than clear people wanted to go to school with black people. But if you're propagandizing a struggle, remind you, this is all a part of the civil rights movement. You gotta put a razzle dazzle on it. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you see what I'm saying? If you get actors, paid actresses and actors, and you have them 1, 2, 3, 4 little onesie twosies and put it on TV, now you put it in the people's minds, something that was never there. And this is what happens. I took sociology. I study people. Listen, what typically happens is the whites are racist. So immediately they get these nigger babies up out of here. And immediately black people are on the defense, like F these crackers. And now I ain't want my child to go there at first, but now she going there. You get it? So you see how quickly both sides were tricked into this integration in schools? Did y'all check that? There's documentary after documentary after documentary pointing out, talking about the school integration system. If you don't believe me, look up the school busing system. Look up the busing system. A lot of the parents were forced to make their children get on those buses and be bused to the white schools. So, but remember, if you understand that the world is a stage, then you understand why they would make it cookie cutter like it is, because you have to be able to digest it like a movie. You see what I'm saying? You got to be able to digest this civil rights movement the same way you watch Little House on the Prairie, or the same way you watch any other movie. Okay? I just had to say that.
Pink dress, party dress. And as I walked over to meet her, her bowed head sort of raised gently, and a little smile came across her face. And then those beautiful big brown eyes that she still has rose to meet mine. And, it was a case of love at first sight. How could you not fall in love with a child like that in a moment like that? And so, leaving behind a cameo of the past, Ruby and I held our hands, left them, walked together upstairs to our first grade classroom, and began our solitary adventure.
I remember looking at her and thinking, she's white. I'd never seen a white teacher before. She looked exactly like the people outside. She wasn't.
By the next day, the crowds had doubled.
They kept pointing at me and shouting. They kept saying, we're going to poison her. We're going to hang her. I remember hearing my mom said that she would send me to school and that every day she would sit and pray all day to 3 o'clock until I walked back through the door. And the federal marshals, they met with my parents and they said, you should prepare her lunch and she should eat it at her desk.
I want to say, algorithmic overhaul, thank you. Thank you for asking questions. This is what this is all about. Thank you so much for asking questions. This is an amazing question. And I want you guys to answer this question too. Why does it make sense fiscally, meaning money? Why does it make dollars and cents to have a classroom with one child in it? I can make it better than that algorithmic overhaul. She was the only child in the entire school. Ruby Bridges, the morning that once the parents found out that Ruby Bridges was coming to school, whatever day, if it was a Monday, no white child showed up to school. Ruby Bridges had the whole school to herself. The whole school to herself. Now you ask me, with preparing for lunch, breakfast, and all these things after school, before school, all this stuff, how much sense does it make to have one little girl occupy an entire school, money-wise? Because schools make money. Every day your child show up, that's why they take attendance. That's why they arrest your ass when your child don't pull up. Because every day that child come, the school makes money. But ask yourself, why does it make sense for them to put one little girl in an entire school? Not a class, the school. Remember, according to what the legends have it, they say the crowd wasn't even over there by Ruby because all them parents took their children out of the school. Allegedly, they say the crowd was over there by the other 3, but they spliced it and edited and chopped it and put it together like it was Ruby. Allegedly.
They actually thought that I was afraid of being poisoned. And I remember them coming to me and saying, why were you not eating? And why did you lie? And I said, because I want to eat lunch in the cafeteria with the other kids. The minute we got to the cafeteria and they pushed open the doors, nothing but empty tables. There were no kids. And I remember being so disappointed about that. I just knew they were in the cafeteria. I would go into this coat closet to hang up my coat, and every time I went into the closet, I would hear kids.
Mind you, Ruby was 5. Y'all not about to make me believe Ruby remember them details that good. I don't believe it. Ruby was 4, 5 years old, 6 maybe tops. Y'all not gonna make me believe that girl remember all them details that good. But okay, Ruby, nobody was in lunch because everybody was gone, fat.
Voices. And I would mention it to my teacher and she wouldn't say anything. And there were days when I would go back into the closet and I would just stand there.
That part right freaking there. You know why it make fiscal responsibility or fiscal sense to close down a whole school and probably risk tens of thousands or losing tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because the bigger picture is much more important. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'd rather take a loss 15, 20,000 here if I can gain the whole world in the future. Yeah. So, but that's called chess, not checkers. That means this move, you're making this move because you know that what I'm doing here is going to gravely affect what happens way down the line. It's called foresight. Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to take the lick here, but it's going to make more dollars and cents later. So, am I going to take a lick? Yes. But it's going to end up in my benefit in the end, so I can take the lick.
Just to see if I really hurt them. And I did. You see, there were white parents who tried to send their kids to school with me. Those white parents had to cross the same picket line that I did, and they were never protected by federal marshals. As they crossed the picket line, the principal would take the kids and she would hide them so they would never see me, and I would never see them. I went up to the principal and I said, "Why are they not with Ruby?" And she said, "Well, that teacher won't teach her." And I said, "Well, I will teach them." And so shortly thereafter, they would come and join us for the afternoon. And I do remember that beginning, where those 3 or 4 little kids just gingerly walked into that room, because that was the first time they had ever been in a classroom with a black child. I went in to sit down to play with them.
I ain't gonna hold you. It wouldn't surprise me if they staged the hell out this picture. It would not surprise me if they staged the entire hell out of this picture. Because where was all these lily white kids wanting to play with you when you was down to the schoolhouse by yourself? Now, I know she said that they was outside and they wouldn't allow their kids to go in and all that cap. So they wouldn't allow them to go to school on Monday, but it was cool to return on Tuesday. It wouldn't surprise me if they staged this whole picture. But remember, I told y'all it's going to be some of us we got to deal with. I'm not saying that about Ruby Bridges. I'm just saying.
In a classroom with a black child.
I went in to sit down to play with them, but that is the day. Because a little boy looked at me and he said, "I can't play with you. My mom said not to play with you because you're a." And the minute he said that, I remember to this very day, it felt as if this weight lifted off my shoulders. All of a sudden, by him saying that, I knew why there were no kids there. And the truth is, even though he hurt my feelings, I was never angry with him. Because in my mind, I thought he was explaining to me why he couldn't play with me. He said, "My mom said not to play with you." And I thought to myself, if my mom had said, "Ruby,"
y'all hear the violins? This to make y'all love the white folks. You hear the violins? He told me his mom said he could not play with me. And it was after that he said he doesn't care what his mother says because race doesn't matter. And look at the violins. Getting you all emotional. Look.
don't play with him. He's Asian. Don't play with him. He's Indian. He's Hispanic. He's white. If my mom had said not to play with him, I would not have played with him. So I wasn't angry with him. I understood.
One cannot underestimate the courage of Ruby and the power a child has.
I believed it was in the best interest of white and black to be in a segregated school system. But I was wrong.
Our children need to know that white folks and black folks, they stood together. Thank God for the teacher that was there. She was my best friend, and she taught me the lesson that Dr. King tried to teach each and every one of us. And that is, we should never judge a person by the color of their skin. I always say that she showed me her heart.
We had a grand time together, I think, side by side, just the two of us.
I believe that if we are going to get past our racial differences, it's going to come from our kids. But we as adults have to allow them opportunities to come together. I think it's important for kids to dream and be able to believe that they can follow those dreams. I don't think I would be here today if I wasn't dreaming.
And scene. And scene. Girl, Ruby ain't said nothing about them other little girls. Ruby, you do know it was for y'all, right? Ruby told this whole story, and Ruby ain't opened her mouth about them other little girls. And then on top of that, Ruby, it seems like she's memorized the script. It's given she memorized the script. It was, you see, it was the kids, and it was all getting us to kumbaya. I keep telling Black Americans the reason why they want you to kumbaya with everybody so that they can take your identity and erase you. You're gonna be walking around like Stevie Wonder. I told y'all that. Y'all gonna be walking around like Stevie Wonder because y'all gonna be integrating with everybody, integrating till you done integrated yourself up out your whole existence. You done integrated so much so now you done integrated to the point now. Well, you don't even exist no more. Make it make sense. Now let's get to the New Orleans 4. Y'all get the likes up on the video. Y'all, shout out to everybody in the building. We about to get to the other 3 ladies. Let me share this tab. We're going to get into the other 3 ladies. I find this fascinating. And the only reason I find it fascinating is because I understand better now. And I know that a lick was given on our parents and grandparents. Really, really bad. They had a lick on them. It was a play. They got some bad low and they got played. Okay? Let's get into it.
In the fall of 1960, Ruby Bridges was a 6-year-old girl who just wanted to go to school. Instead, she became an icon, thanks in part to this Norman Rockwell painting that shows her being harassed as she is escorted by federal marshals to a previously all-white school in New Orleans. But Ruby was not alone that day. This morning, for the first time ever on network television, the other 3 members of the New Orleans 4 tell their story with a new twist. NBC's Rahima Ellis has our Sunday Spotlight.
Didn't have no clue that the color of my skin made a big difference in where I had to go to school.
You could hear the mob saying these things. This was an angry crowd. It looked like if they could get to me, they'd kill me, and I didn't know why.
The why is rooted in America's painful history of segregation. So when Gail Etienne, Leona Tate, and Tessie Prevost Williams were only 6 years old and chosen to desegregate this school in New Orleans in the fall of 1960, they faced a tidal wave of opposition.
And my daddy said, give me your hand, look straight ahead, I'm here.
Federal marshals made sure no harm.
Also there were U.S. Marshals assigned to protect the girls, just as other marshals protected Ruby Bridges at another school not far away. Her story has become legendary, but a producer documenting New Orleans history says there's more to tell.
Not to take away from what Ruby Bridges did, but it becomes much more powerful when they know that there was this hurricane of things happening all simultaneously.
Gail, Leona, and Tessie, now finally more vocal about what they endured in a school ultimately abandoned by white students.
Where was everybody else? They came the first day of school and the parents started yanking them out. We had 3 little girls with a whole school to ourselves.
But there was no freedom.
This is our first grade classroom, and these windows were papered up. No one could see in, and we couldn't see outside.
What was the reason? It was for our protection because of the mob.
Couldn't even use a pencil sharpener.
Right.
Because it was too close to the window. Their childhood turned upside down for a cause. They spent the first grade confined.
In this room.
In this room.
Not the cafeteria, not the playground.
Never.
This room.
But you want to know why it was just in one room? Because all they needed was good images and good shots so that they can piece those two videos together. They only cared about those kids walking in the school and walking out. That's it. All they care about as far as footage is getting them girls going in the school and getting those girls coming out, because they need this production to go off without a hitch. They need all of America to know that we integrating or desegregating schools and we integrating them, and this is what's going on. But remember, they're not telling you through the lens of the New Orleans 4. They're piecing stuff to happen to the girls that are 3 and putting it with Ruby Bridges. You see what I'm saying? So when you understand the production of Holly Weird and how it's all connected with all of this stuff, you see the play.
It took a heavy toll.
I was 6 years old on nerve medicine for a while. Because what we went through as little kids, it wasn't normal.
In the years that followed, in different schools, there were no U.S. Marshals protecting them.
Was it rough?
It was terrible. Rough is not the word. They spit on us, they tore our clothes off, ripped our dresses and spit in our food, and Gail was hit with a bat.
The taunting and abuse eventually lessened. This story slipped into the shadows of history.
Just visiting all schools, and the children didn't know about us.
Determined to change that, Leona set out to acquire the old abandoned school. Today, with the help of a grant from the National Park Service, it will become a center for education and affordable housing, named for the 3 women.
It's got to be a place where we need to talk, to share some dialogue.
A place where a difficult past can help inform a better future. For Sunday Today, Rahima Ellis, New Orleans.
So now, while Ruby Bridges was getting all of the fanfare, all of the Holly Weird, all of the magazines, all of the TV commercials and all that stuff, these girls was at school confined to one room. And when they were finally let out, these little girls were spat on, hit with bats, beat on, dresses torn, clothes torn off. And this is my question. Why wouldn't you want to televise that? Like, this is something you should want everybody to know. But if it doesn't fall in line with the script, you get it? Now, I'm not going to hold you. Like I say, I'm not putting my child through that. No, hell no. I'm not sending my child to no unsafe environment to play with this government shit on some integration, desegregation. I don't give a damn. I'm not sacrificing my child for no stuff like that. I'm just not. But I asked, I was like, I wonder what the parents thought. Now, I found one of the parents. Hold on. I want to show you one of the parents that I had found. Now, I found one of the mamas, and she was telling her story with a smile about how, you know, proud that her child wooty woo and bop, bop, bop. You know what I'm saying? How I go. And I wanted y'all to see this. I need y'all to see this. Y'all, check out the mother. I can't remember which mother this is, but this is one of the parents. I want y'all to see what she's saying about her experience and how she felt.
When Tessie went to school at 6, I said, Lord Jesus, my baby, because the other one wasn't born then. And I said, Lord, this is my only child. What am I going to do?
So her daughter is
first grade. She went to Hardin, and that was about 13 blocks from our house. And my husband said she'll never go back that way by herself. So somebody had to bring her that far. McDonald 13 was only 3 blocks from our house. So she could go there. So I went to the school to register. Said that we had to have at the center had to get a test before she can go. And when they finished, he called me and he said that test was so high. We're gonna send Tessie to McDonald 19, but he didn't tell me what was her average of school. He just said it was high.
Okay, I have to interject here because this is something else I got to give y'all for context. So this is according to my best friend being at the seminar with the New Orleans 4 minus Ruby. So I guess the 3, I don't know. But either way, according to those ladies, according to those women, what they were saying was, hold on, because I just lost it. Damn, what she said, it was something she said that reminded me. Hold on, it's gonna come.
What was her average of school?
Okay, the scores. So according to them, the way that they were integrating the schools is they weren't using it by race. What they did was found these kids who were extremely intelligent, meaning gifted kids. And they said, but they were black. And then they used those kids and said, we're going to integrate the schools. And how they was getting it through on the white folks was, this don't have nothing to do with race. These are gifted kids. This is a gifted school. They should be able to go to this school. So when this lady, Miss Dorothy, is talking about her child had scores through the roof, but they wouldn't tell her to score, but yet and still it was, oh, your child should just go to McDonald's 19. It makes sense. Now, remember, this could be a script that she's reciting. Who knows? I don't know. But according to what she's saying, it makes sense because that's how they were integrating the schools. They were saying that these were high, intelligible, like intelligent, very smart, high scoring testing girls. And because of that, they're like, by law, you can't stop them from coming into school. You see what I'm saying?
Just said it was high. And my husband said, well, we'll send him. He worked at the post office till he's retired. But they had a white guy used to pass and pick him up every morning. He had to be to work for 4 o'clock. And that night, that day, Tessie integrated the school. That next morning, he passed them up. It was dark, no buses. He came back home and he said, he called him up. He said, I'll be late. He said, I had to find somebody to go with, to bring me to work. So he did. That guy just passed him up right then. And when the policeman and the marshal would come to get Tessie, and sometimes I'd be crying, my oldest child, scared, with those white people, 2, 4, 6, 8, we don't want to integrate, calling us all kind of names and things. And I just was so afraid. I said, maybe they'll do my baby something. And I used to pray every morning when that baby would leave. And one of the marshals told me, he said, Miss Prevost, he said, this child is in my hand. He said, nothing would happen to this child. The first day when she was going up the stairs, my husband went with her. I didn't go. And he told her, he said, Daddy is in the back. Look straight ahead. Go ahead, straight ahead. He said, you know I'm going to take care of you. She said, and I know my daddy loved me, baby. I know who loved me. He told her that. He said, don't look back. Just look straight ahead. Don't care what they say. Just go ahead on. When Tessie integrated the school, they were so annoying to us. They'd send the ambulance to our dead wagon to our house. The people at the grocery where we used to go at, he said that he didn't want no disturbance in the grocery. But they wait till I got out of the grocery and they would start. But they never did hit me or anything. They just would try to find out where I lived, you know. So the marshals used to be at our house, and he told me that he said that if anybody would come to our house, they had to come in. They couldn't stand on the outside. He said, because this gun don't stop till it's empty. And
really quickly, because I gotta stop it for context. So the husband went to school with Tessie, I think, if she said the baby's name was. And the husband went with her. Now, mind you, he worked at the post office. So he had a clear man who he would ride to work with every day. But then the moment he integrated the schools, the clear man no longer wants to pick him up. But he still was there to take his baby to school, even though those people were hurling all these racial slurs, saying all these horrible things, the mama getting harassed to the stores and everything. And I'm not sure that somebody could knock on my door or call my phone and convince me to put my child in this situation. I'm just, especially around racist crackers, especially knowing what they do to niggas and what they have done to niggas. I just don't see no random encounter where somebody convinced me to put my child in that. I just don't.
They stayed out there, drink coffee. In the morning, they have a big pile of cups where they drink coffee. But they had one family, it was a white guy too. They put the children back at McDonald's. So they tormented him so much, he took his children out of the school, and they went to another state. It was good for 19. She had a beautiful teachers, first grade and second grade. But when we went to sim school, it was something different altogether. She would go up the stairs, little boy would kick at her. She was always the tallest, so that meant she was less. And so she would come home and she'd say, Mama, they got a little boy, always be kicking at me. And she wore glasses, and she said, I'm afraid he's gonna break my glasses. I said, I tell you what you do. Next time he kick at you, you grab his foot. And he'll know that the principal know that you didn't do it, he did it. But every time he would call for somebody, one of the parents, Leona, Mama, or somebody, they'd call for me. I had to go out there. It wouldn't be nothing Tessie did. But she did that time, and you know what happened? He stopped kicking at her. He stopped kicking. The children didn't know any, they didn't know no better, but the parent is the one that really enticed them, you know. I was wondering how those white people could be so ugly. So ugly.
You know what bothers me about white people? White people come from every corner of the earth, crawling out of the cracks and crevices, come in, act like they cool with you, integrate, then infiltrate, then take over, and then get mad and be like, we don't want to be around you. Bitch, you came around us. We ain't come around you. Them white folks moved to New Orleans. Listen, prior to all them white folks during that Ellis Island trip in the early 1900s and even some in the 1800s, a lot of those white folks came to New Orleans. New Orleans was a black city, ran politics and everything by black people. Them white folks came down there. How do you come down here where I'm at and then tell me you don't want to be around me? Bye. What do you mean? What do you mean? How you come to where I'm at and then say, I don't want to be around you? Ain't nobody asked you to come over here. But that's the craziness about clear people. And they do it to this day. Even in today's society with gentrification, white people will move in your neighborhood and act like you getting on their nerves. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. White people during gentrification would move into your neighborhood and swear to God, you the worst thing since sliced bread, and act like you getting on their nerves and you just the worst thing. Nigga, ain't nobody asked you to come over here. But that's the mentality when you feel like, can't nobody tell me nothing. When they give you that status coming off that boat with your headlights, and they tell you you are in charge, and you have a status called white, and this status is gonna make you at a higher level. You're gonna get all kind of perks and all that stuff. It goes to their head, and now generations later, their offspring really believe the shit they be saying. Today, their offspring really believe the shit that their parents were saying. That's why so many $5 footlongs running around here claiming they indigenous.
For just children going to school. What we all should learn is to love each other and to know that every one of us is the same. God made everybody.
Oh, girl, ma'am, with all due respect, just like Ruby. Now her story starts off with all the horrible things that happen, and they always end with us being one big happy family and not looking at race. Have y'all caught on? Ruby's story about all the horrible, heinous thing the clear kids did to her till she found one little lily white boy who wanted to play with her, and they took one photo, and we all should be one happy race. Same thing with this lady. And you know, after telling all these horrific things about your child happening to her down to the schoolhouse, you ended off with, but we could all be one happy race. Y'all don't see the play? And this is why I believe this is a script. Do you not see the play? Because you're not going to make me believe that Ruby Bridges, this lady mama, and all these other folks, come on, man. Even if they felt like that then, you're not going to believe me that. Stop it. All that stuff that done happened between then and now, and you still believe we all one big race? Ma'am.
God made everybody. Give everybody the same brain and knowledge, and some of them don't use it. But he wants all of us to love, and that's what we should do. Love each other.
And that's what this is all about. To tell you how the clear people beat you up, hang you, spit on you, beat you with bats, run your churn amok all through the mud. And at the end, we just got to know that we all one race. And it's all about love. This is why I say my generation is completely different from that generation. You see what I'm saying? We different. We more militant. We more action-based. Because, girl, what you mean? You done just told me how your baby done went to school, got spit on, they tore her clothes off her, they beat her up, punched her, little boys was kicking on her, and then at the end, you want us to believe that we should all be one big happy family? Ha! Okay, girl. With all due respect to the elder. But okay, girl. It's giving script. It's giving script. I could be wrong, but it's given you memorize your script really well. Really, really well. That's what it's given. Let's hear some more from these girls. Now, this documentary was in 1983, and this is what I learned because I love documentaries. What I've learned when it comes to documentaries, if you want the truth, you got to go to the old ones. These new documentaries, cap. Not all of them, but for the most part, a whole bunch of cap. It's so much cap in these new documentaries. At least the old ones, you might catch somebody raw who's just going to say it how it is. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, I'm pretty positive 99% of the people you see in these documentaries is paid actors. But neither here nor there. Let's get on this one from 83. This is the year I was born. Shout out to me. But this is a documentary. It's only like 20 minutes, but it's a documentary on the girls. Y'all get the lights up. Let's get into this.
To integrate the New Orleans public school system.
We'll be traveling back in time to November 14th, 1960, the day the girls integrated the public schools in New Orleans. We'll also share with you a recent celebration honoring the 4 women. That and more today on Folks.
Everybody's just folks. Just plain old folks. Just to survive.
I love the nostalgia of seeing old stuff because I remember what it felt like to, you know what I'm saying, be in that era. It's so dope.
Just plain old. Speed. The program examined the issues, people, and processes involved in school desegregation here in Louisiana.
One of the school systems that the program focused on was New Orleans Public Schools, a school system first desegregated almost 23 years ago.
What are we going to do?
Meet Ruby Bridges, Gail Etienne, Tessie Prevost, and Leona Tate. When these women were 6 years old, they desegregated the public school system in New Orleans. On November 14th, 1960, 3 of the girls entered McDonough 19. The 4th girl was sent to France Elementary School. All of them were accompanied by U.S. Marshals. They encountered mobs of spitting, cursing, stone-throwing whites. Some people called the event the Second Battle of New Orleans. Jack Stewart was principal of McDonough 19 at the time.
Nobody knew anything was going to happen, so it was just like any other day. The kids came to school, and school started.
as the faculty got here, I told them by the time 8:15 or so, faculty lounge had chief of police and city attorney, federal marshals, federal attorneys, acting sergeant at arms of the state legislature. They were all having coffee there, just waiting for it to happen. And they brought the Thriller girls about 9:30, and then the community knew something was going on. By lunchtime, most of the other children were gone.
We were prepped, you know. They told us, like my mom and dad, they told us that not to be afraid, you know, that it was going to be different. They made us understand this. And I can remember the marshals coming to the house, picking us up. We were well guarded, okay. And riding to the school, it wasn't very far. And then just a whole crowd of people in the street yelling and hollering. What they were yelling, I don't remember. Okay, I can remember going into school. It was a crowded school with kids then, but we sat in the office for some time, you know, and then they escorted us to classes. But during the day, the rest of the kids.
Is the sound too low? I can't make it higher, y'all. So my apologies. It's just probably because the documentary is old. So if you can, probably turn up your volume on your end. But hopefully y'all can hear it. Let me know if you can't hear it.
Stay left.
Ruby Bridges was the lone black girl who integrated France Elementary School. Ruby, her mother, and U.S. Marshals were greeted that first day and days following by whites who lined the sidewalks carrying rebel flags. Desegregation in New Orleans made national headlines. After that first day, mothers of the New Orleans four talked to the press with their backs to the television cameras so that they would not be recognized.
Do you feel it's a cause that you have to fight through to represent other Negroes?
I feel this way, that if this is going to be to pave the way for equal rights for other people, then we're willing to make the sacrifice no matter what it is.
The rest of you feel pretty much the same.
But think about it. Is it really equal rights? If we don't have any desire to go to school with these white people, why are you saying this is equal rights? You know what this reminds me of today? Because I like to think about what's happening today. Remember how they told us getting an abortion was women's rights? Y'all remember that? Remember when they made us believe that the option to just go and get abortion after abortion after abortion after abortion is just simply women's rights? And it is in a way, but they made it, instead of calling it what it is, they just renamed it to women's rights. And most people hear those words, women's rights, and they're going to be on board. Same thing with equal rights. Anybody who hear equal rights ain't gonna ask no questions. Whatever you talking about, when you say equal rights, everybody on board, especially if you're talking to people who are oppressed in said situation. So I find it funny that they calling it equal rights when back then the niggas did not want to go to school with them. But if you continue to hear that propaganda repeated to you over and over and over again that this is equal rights, you'll start to believe it. Just like y'all started to believe that being able to use abortions as birth control was a right, was women's rights. And even though I believe a woman deserved that right, it wasn't what it was. It's much more than what you know, if it makes sense.
Same way.
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us anything the girls said in their own words, any comments they made themselves about this?
Well, I'll tell you about my little girl. We do not question her. We have better sense than that. We don't question her about what happened in the school. But if she opens up and want to talk, then she has a little dog at home, and she's more anxious to get home and play with her dog than she is to tell us anything about what happened. They took it, my little girl took it wonderful.
Well, what happened, say, after the first day?
Nothing.
Was she upset?
Not at all.
Does she understand what it's all about fully?
I don't think she does. I think she's transferred from one school to another.
And what about the other children?
She's taking it fine, too.
Did any of them seem frightened at all?
No, she's very thrilled when she came home.
How about this? Are they still taking it all right after these last 3 days into this fourth day?
Yes, Mama, fine.
Are you all determined for your children to stay in the school?
Yes.
Determined to stick to it?
Yes.
Rather than send their children to the two schools chosen for desegregation, many white parents opted for private and parochial schools.
I have two in school, 1 9 and 1 6.
Are you registering both of them here
Oh,
today?
yes, definitely. And I will have one going next year.
Do you think we're going to continue to have your children in this temporary?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
You wouldn't send them back to,
Oh, no.
where are they, in McDonough or France?
McDonough 19, and my little boy, he's in the room, Miss Myers' room with the three little niggas.
I see. And you took your boy out the first day?
Oh, I didn't send him Monday.
Oh, you didn't
Governor
send him at
Davis
all?
set a holiday, and I did abide by him. He is the governor of the state, and I did abide by him.
Are you worried about the education of your children?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, I was thinking in terms of this temporary school. Do you think they'll get good education in their temporary school?
Well, I don't know about a good education, but I think they will learn something much better than what I could teach them at home.
But you're prepared to keep them in school? It is organized?
Well, if I see where they're making headways, definitely. Yes, definitely.
Well, what are your plans now? Are you going to send Maria to the school that your husband is helping organize?
Yes, I'm going to send her there, and I believe that it's going to work out 100% because he's been working all summer. And in fact, this week he's been working every night to promote the school and make it one of the best private schools area.
So as you can see, white people seeing niggas coming and they pulling their kids by the droves. Now, if you're poor, you can't pull your kid. However, you have something called a status, and that status is what? White. That status holds weight. So even though you're poor, if you don't want to integrate your schools, you're not going to have to. But the point I'm making is the niggas wasn't running over there to be by the white folks, and the white folks wasn't running over there to be by the niggas. They started busing them kids, making them kids go to school together. I don't care what this propaganda tell you. The niggas was cool with going to school with niggas. The white folks was cool with going to school with white folks. It wasn't until they started busting them and forcing them and having this stuff like propaganda like this with Ruby Bridges. That's when they started that integration, equal rights. No, we good over here. Y'all stay over there.
You're not worried about lack of money, perhaps, or the school standards not being up to the public school standards?
No, I believe that with everyone's cooperation, they'll make out pretty well.
What do you think will be the end of all this? Do you think things will be solved by next year, or what?
I believe that if they continue with these private schools, they'll have enough of them set up that everyone will be satisfied instead of sending their children in integrated schools.
In other words, you're not concerned now at this point about whether the school's open or closed?
I'm not worried anymore since this private school started.
When do you think Maria will be going to school?
Well, I believe in about a couple of 3 weeks the school will be started.
Maria, what have you been doing all this week?
Playing?
You had a lot of fun?
Yeah.
Or what did you think about missing school?
I don't know.
Not only did Tessie, Gail, and Leona desegregate Madonna 19, but they were the total student enrollment from November 1960 to June 1961. Ruby's white schoolmates at France Elementary also had to be escorted. The whole ordeal created so much tension that it prompted this statement from the New Orleans police superintendent.
Although persons have a right to demonstrate peacefully on our streets, I have to take into consideration the fact that others who are opposed to the thinking of such demonstrators also have the right to freedom of movement and full protection of the law.
James Gabriel, a worker for the city of New Orleans, and his wife continued to take their daughter to Franz Elementary after Ruby began attending, but they received ongoing threats and abuse from other white parents. Their apartment was stoned, and harassment on the job forced Mr. Gabriel to quit.
Why did you quit your job?
Oh, I'd say mostly pressure being put on a little at a time around the place there. The way they've been acting towards me, they won't have nothing to say to me. And my boss is sort of, doesn't want to say too much to me. So I try to talk to my boss, and my boss said, look, he said, I don't want to have a damn thing to do with you. In plain English, I don't want to have a damn thing to do with you. So I told him, that's the way you feel about it. Well, you fire me right on the spot. You fire me right now. And he just said, well, go on, go to work. If I don't find a job soon, I just have to get out of the state. because I don't, the way things are going right now, they're trying to make it hard for me, but like my wife and I talked about this way before, if this ever should happen to us, that we knew what to expect. If it went this way and it looked like it's going this way, that nobody wants to have nothing to do with us, but as far as I'm concerned, it makes no difference to me one way or the other.
My faith in the people of New Orleans has always been that they're wonderful people, and it has never wavered. In fact, I have the proof through the mail. Many, many letters are from the people of New Orleans, and all the letters are letters of encouragement and admiration. I mean, they're all, well, I cried a couple of times.
The Gabriels moved to Rhode Island. The school board president at the time was Lloyd Rittner, and he says he knew when integration came, there was going to be some trouble.
Well, I knew when we integrated the schools, or when we said we were going.
You guys have to keep in mind, because I wanted to tell you this because this makes sense. Plus, I have to stop the video for context. Okay. This was in 1960, right? In 1874, the Battle of Liberty Place had just took place. So in 1874 is when the white folks took over in politics, government, and law in New Orleans. 1874. Less than 100 years later, in 1960, the white folks have complete control. Listen, I need you guys to understand how fast this happened. I need you guys to understand. In 1874, and I can read this to you. I can read it to you if you need it. Listen, the Battle of Liberty Place is the name of it in New Orleans. This happened in 1874. In 1960s, the white folks had all control. It took less than 100 years from 1874 to have complete control. I told y'all, the civil rights movement was the end-all be-all to cap off everything they needed to completely control and have control over everything that we needed. We were tricked to play along in the game. We were dumb enough to help aid and abet in our own demise. Same thing happening today. When the civil rights movement happened and Mike and the SCLC and all these other folks came out, this was the last thing they needed to happen to really get the last little, to siphon the last little bit of anything that we had. That was in the 60s. This stuff was happening all the way up until the 60s. It happened beyond, but I'm telling you, the major events that have us where we are, to where we're now either digital slaves or physical slaves to the powers that be, the cap on that happened during the civil rights movement. That was the end. That was the beating the King Koopa at the end of Mario Brothers. So in 1874, let's talk about the Battle of Liberty Place. A battle on Canal Street was an attempted insurrection by Crescent City White League against the Reconstruction era Louisiana Republican state government on September 14, 1874. Pause. Reconstruction. Mind you, the White League, which are the Confederates, which are at the time, the Democrats, because we were Republicans. Black people were Republicans in the 1800s all across the Deep South. Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina. Who I'm missing? Probably Virginia. Don't get me the line. Don't get me the line. We were all Republican. They told y'all the party switched, but y'all listen to whatever they say. So pause. So you got the white Confederates or the white Democrats going against the black Republicans in New Orleans in September 14th, 1874. It says, New Orleans, which was the capital of Louisiana at that time. I didn't even know that, and I'm born and raised in New Orleans. Moving on, it says 5,000 members of the White League, a paramilitary. Pause. Because I told y'all the military came in during what it was, Rosewood. They had the military down there. They had the military down there in Tulsa. I told y'all the only reason they was winning their wars is because they kept having the backing of the military. But y'all not listening. Pause. Let's go back to it. 5,000 members of the White League, a paramilitary organization made up largely of Confederate veterans, whites, right? Hold on. Fought against the outnumbered, racially integrated New Orleans Metropolitan Police and state militia. Remember, militias are still legal. It's just niggas like to say they in the gang. If a nigga change their gang to a militia, you are a legal fucking entity. But a nigga love just being in a gang. They rather say they gang bang. If the Crips right now say we are no longer a gang, but we are a militia, guess what? Legally, the government can't touch them. But that's a whole nother day. Hold on. The insurgents held the State House Armory in downtown for 3 days, retreating before arrival of federal troops. So now they got backup for the backup. They got a paramilitary group, and now they got the federal troops, the Union, who y'all thought was on your side. Remember y'all said the Union was on niggas' side because they released us from prison. I'm sorry, slavery. Remember y'all said that? Remember I told y'all it was the Union armies who was over there governing the Devil's Punch Bowl in Mississippi, where hundreds of our people died. But that's a whole nother story. Hold on. It goes on to say, let me repeat it. The insurgents held the State House Armory in downtown for 3 days, retreating before arrival of federal troops that restored the elected government. At least 35 people, including at least 21 White League members, were killed in the fighting. No insurgents were charged in the action. This is when the white folks took over New Orleans. After that, there were many wars, many, all types of stuff that was going on. But it wasn't until between 1874 and 1960. That's less than 100 years. Because prior to that war, the Battle of Liberty Place, Black people, Black Republicans ran the city of New Orleans. Black Republicans ran politics in the South. It's a fact. Go look it up. It wasn't in this. Listen, just because it was 1874 in New Orleans, don't mean it wasn't 1874 in Memphis or 1874 in Houston or 1874 in Florida. Are you tracking? That's how short of a time it took to take our wealth from us for the most part. And it all was helped. It all was done with our help. It was all done with the help of us. We helped us be where we at. We helped us get to where we at with our fucking emotions. They keep playing us over and over and over because they play on our emotions, our mental, our hearts. They play on that. And every time we fall for it, lock, stock, and barrel. Every fucking time we fall for it. Every time. And this is why, honestly, Black people, we got to start looking at ourselves in the mirror. We got to start doing that. Okay? But let that sink in. 1874, Black folks ran New Orleans. 1960, white folks running it. Let that sink in.
To integrate the schools, that we would have trouble. But I never dreamed that we would have as much trouble as we had. I didn't believe that the feeling ran as deep as it did, and that the feeling ran throughout the entire community from the lowest socioeconomic level to the highest. This surprised me. I didn't know that the people would be so vindictive that they would actually ruin me in my business because I was keeping the schools open. But the feeling was very, very deep here, and it lasted for a long time. I'm not sure that it has changed inwardly as much as I would hope that it had. Certainly outwardly it has. Maybe inwardly, but I'm not sure.
The days immediately after it happened were beautiful November days. It was warm and sunny, and the neutral ground, the people in the community gather. None of the faculty, nor did I feel any threatened by them. We knew most of them. They felt frustrated. They didn't particularly like what was happening. They didn't know how to control it. The shouting and whatnot would occur when the youngsters were brought to school by the federal marshals. or when they were taken home in the evening.
Today, the capital of Louisiana is Baton Rouge, and it is, for the most part, a black city, but it is heavily gentrified. A lot of white people, they done put up a whole lot of businesses, so a lot of white people are moving toward Baton Rouge. But I know when I was growing up, Baton Rouge was as black as Macon, Georgia. If you know how black Macon, Georgia is, then you understood Baton Rouge and Macon, Georgia was the same place in different cities. Okay? I've been to Macon many, many times. That's a nigga place. Baton Rouge was that. I can't tell you today because when I went down there recently, there was a lot of clear people, but I understand gentrification. But Baton Rouge and New Orleans have always been predominantly black, for the most part.
By the federal marshals. Oh, with all due respect, whenever a TV camera showed up, but the rest of the time was more picnic-like than anything else.
We were trying to get the community to believe that it was better to keep the schools open, even though integrated, that the only other choice they had was to close the schools. They were misled. They were misled by the one board member that wasn't on this committee, and they were misled by a lot of the politicians in Baton Rouge that the state and the city could more or less take over the school system and give it to a private school system, all of the buildings, all of the lands, all of the teachers, and for $1, and that they could continue to operate the school system in Orleans Parish as it had been before, but now as a private school system. Well, we knew that that couldn't happen, and but the one school board member that felt that it could happen consistently said that the governor could throw his cloak of sovereignty over the edifice of education, whatever that means. But it was meant to let the people believe that the governor had the power to keep the schools open and segregated.
Despite all of the attention, at age 6, Ruby, Gail, Tessie, and Leona really didn't know what was going on at the time.
It just looked like it was Mardi Gras, so why we had to go during that time. Everybody else wasn't going, you know. But I did notice that everybody out there were white. Okay, I can remember that. You know, the only black people were our families or something like that, people behind us.
Jimmy Davis was governor. He and the state legislature tried to take control of the schools. Funds to pay.
Can I say this too? I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the parents putting their children in this sort of situation. And again, I don't know what's the backstory to the parents of these kids of the New Orleans Four, but I just want to say this. I do find it odd that when I look at old Freemason stories or people who are Freemasons and they give their biographies or autobiographies or whatever they do, they always talk about real heinous stuff their parents did to them, right? Do y'all recall when Meatball, y'all know who Meatball is, right? What's his name? This nigga here. Which nigga Vu? Which nigga Vu? I'm bad with names, y'all know, but I know who this is. Y'all remember Meatball? In his biography, he talks about how his daddy had him come out, help build a grave, and he left him down there all night. His own daddy, flesh and blood. You know who else have a story like that? Mike. They've all been hazed in a heinous way by their parents. Now, these are the Freemasons. I don't know if these three little girls' parents were Eastern Stars or Freemasons, but I find it odd that whenever we talk about the history of these people who we think are our heroes, and we start to peel back the onion layers, we start to realize their parents really was on some Bible sacrifice the children type shit. You see what I'm saying? You know how in the Bible, I forget what character it was, whoever followed the Bible, y'all might know it better than me. But remember how the Bible said the Most High asked one of his prophets to bring him his son? And the prophet went and got his son. The son kicking and screaming and brought the son to sacrifice to the Most High. And right before he was getting ready to do it, the Most High said, I was just playing. Listen, I get it. Was it Abraham? Thank you, simple of the best. I got to remember it like that in order for me to remember. The only reason I remember that story, because when it was first taught to me by the Jehovah's Witness, in my mind, when I read it, I was like, so God was like, I was just playing. That's horrible. It's not a lesson. But think about it. Why would God do that? Why would he do that? But I'm just saying. So it reminds me of them Bible stories. It be stories like that. So, yeah, when I be hearing these stories of these parents bringing their children, I'm like, I would never do that. But if you fall in that category, you see what I'm saying? Because that nigga daddy, literally, his daddy was a grave digger. I'm telling you the story. It's in his book. Marcus Garvey's father was a grave digger. That was his job. He was a mason and a grave digger. And the daddy had Marcus Garvey as a little boy help him dig the grave. The daddy had Marcus go down into the grave for something, and then he yanked up the stairs and left poor Marcus in the grave all night long. Who would do that to their child? Think about that. Who would do that to their child? When you hear about the rumors of the alleged hazing that Mike went through from his daddy, y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. I'm just saying. I don't know. I just find things to be a bit funny. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's just things are crazy.
Teachers were impounded.
Our attorneys are now investigating with the attorneys for the bank. I believe that under this court order, we should be in a position to negotiate alone with the banks.
You think, as far as the banks are concerned, that this will clear up the situation for them?
I couldn't speak for the banks. I hope it would.
The 2 white children attended France school today as compared to 4 yesterday. Does this look bad for you?
No, I do not think that's significant at all when you consider the extremely difficult situation under which these youngsters are coming into the school. I think the fact that any of the white children are continuing to come is indeed good.
Do you see any lessening of the heckling that's going on for the white children?
Probably not, but I could pray that it would stop.
The state legislature.
Whoever asked why I call old Marty Mar Mike, whoever that was that put that in the chat, why you call old Marty Mar Mike? Because his real name is Michael King, not Martin. Martin is his stage name. Michael is the name his mammy gave him. Martin is his stage name. Michael is the one on his birth certificate. That's why I call him Mike. But old Marty Mar killed me.
Also fired the school board president and its attorney. On the days following November 14th, 1960, the first day of school desegregation in New Orleans, white teenagers and adults marched on the school board office. And before they were dispersed by city police, several blacks were badly hurt and 2 were badly beaten. Genevieve, during that first year of desegregation, business and tourism in New Orleans declined. And it was only then that business leaders and the so-called socio-elite called for some kind of peace and order. One other note, I really have to admire the courage showed by those girls and their parents.
I certainly do too, Rob, because the faith and courage exhibited by the New Orleans Four and their parents has gone pretty much unnoticed. That is until recently, when the New Orleans Citizens Memorial Committee held a special ceremony honoring the 4 women. The ceremony began with a processional of the honorees.
Every time I see the 80s, I feel like fashion just threw up. The 80s was the worst. Fashion was just, hair, makeup, nails, clothes, everything was just horrible. I feel like the 80s is the decade God hates. I swear to God. Every time, and I'm born in 83. Do you understand how much I despise my baby pictures and younger kid pictures? I looked at a mess. My mom looked at a mess. My Paul looked at a mess. Everybody looked at a mess in the 80s, girl. We just did. We all looked at a mess. I'm sorry.
Of course, was to honor the 4 women, but some of the tribute went to their parents as well.
Those families were ordinary families. They worked for their living. They struggled to provide for their families just as the rest of us do. They had the same kind of daily concerns that all of us do. But when the time came for them to make a decision, they were able to make the kind of commitment that is needed to have this special kind of faith and the special kind of courage that's needed to put their lives, their daily lives on the line. These families suffered tremendous financial pressures, social pressures, and even more. And I think that those of us who are parents can really relate to this very, very deeply. They suffered the incredible fear that comes to any parent when they fear that serious harm might come to their children. They did this because they had a commitment and a belief that the American ideal of equality for all was and should be a very real thing, and they were willing to put themselves in the line for that commitment. And I want us to remember those families today.
The first person to honor the women was New Orleans Mayor Ernest Morial. He commented on the four women's contribution to racial equality.
If you from New Orleans, I'm gonna say something that nobody want to talk about. The Morial family ain't shit. They're a bunch of Creoles who really work for the white folks, but they play a nigga's face. Ernest, his son Mark, all the Morials. The Morials ain't shit. I said it. The Paul, the grandpa, the son, the great grandpa. See them Creoles, baby, not all of them. But they had a few of them in politics that was some cutthroat ass niggas. You feel what I'm saying? And the Morials wasn't shit. I said what I said. Not taking it back. Ernest, Mark, the grandpa, and his grandpa too. The whole line. Bullshit.
Quality.
You know, Bush versus the Orleans Parish School Board was filed long before Brown versus the Board of Education in 1952. But at the request of those within the Legal Defense Fund of the NAACP, and because of Brown versus the Board of Education and Bowling v. Sharp, we were requested to delay because the thinking was that those cases were better suited for the Supreme Court of the United States to determine that separate but equal was unconstitutional. And you know the separate but equal doctrine, the separate call law, Plessy versus Ferguson.
Y'all saying that's a clear man. That's a Creole man, but they do look clear. Real Creole people do listen. Because you got to be careful with Creole. If you ask me, Creole was a label to put others in. Because a lot of clear people back then still called themselves Creole and they wasn't Creole. Creole is a mixture of French, Black American, and or Spanish, okay? Spain, not Hispanic, not Mexican, not Puerto Rican. You got to either be from Spain, France, and you got to have some Black American blood, not no other Black, just Black American. That's a real Creole. So a lot of them are just biracial people with just another kind of white. Does that make sense? It's not the British white. It's the French white. That's all a Creole is. That's literally all a Creole is. And a lot of times they become quadroons, octoroons, and all that stuff because the Creoles get to sleeping with the Creoles and making more Creoles. It's crazy. And then somewhere in the lineage, one of the Creoles might get with a nigga. And then they might have kids, and their kids might get with a nigga. But because their grandmother's Creole, they might get back with another Creole. It's crazy. So the lineage on the Creoles, shout out to all my Creoles. Shout out to y'all. I would not want to be in your shoes to figure out my lineage. Because the lineage on the Creoles, I'm pretty positive, is crazy. However, Mark is the son. That's the daddy who was mayor prior to Ray Nagin, right? If I'm mistaken. Was he before or after Ray Nagin? Either way, the daddy could have had more white in him than Mark. Because remember, a Creole is simply a French and a Black American, or a Spanish person and a Black American, or a French, Spain, and Black American. That's what makes a Creole. So his daddy could have more French or Spanish in him than Black American, but it don't matter because it would still label him as a Creole. But now if he go sleep with a Black American, the baby gonna be half Creole, half nigga. So the baby gonna be light-skinned with decent, I guess what y'all would call decent hair, good hair. But it's crazy. The Creole thing is, it's too much to even deal with. It's too much. It's so complicated.
Originated in Louisiana. So there are those who were leaders
Yeah,
in New
believe.
Orleans and Louisiana who would have liked
White and black. All a Creole is a biracial person. The only difference is in a biracial person, you just think of a person that's white and a person that's black. The only difference between the Creole and the biracial is the white in them is from France or Spain. That's it. That's it.
to have seen Bush be the case to set aside Plessy versus Ferguson in a separate call law. But cooler heads prevailed in terms of dealing with a case and the architects of that litigation to make it possible for these young girls to be admitted to those two schools.
The keynote address was given by Dr. Clifton Johnson of the Amstead Research Center.
Those of you who were not born in 1960 cannot.
Oh, and y'all talking about the Creoles. Wait till you find out about all the biracials that helped take our government from us in politics in the 1800s and the 1900s. Wait till you find out that Barack Obama was just a representation and a symbol of all the biracials that was over there playing in our face, playing black to us, and really being white on the bike and really selling us down the river. Wait till we get to that. Are y'all ready for that? Because see, y'all think this is just one-dimensional. No. Wait till we get into all those biracials who most of them didn't tell us they were biracials, but they were really working for the clears. Wait till we get into that. Y'all ain't ready yet. Because y'all want to know the truth. We gonna get to it.
Understand what the situation was like. You cannot imagine the fear, the hatred, and resistance that efforts at school desegregation generated. And we must remember that there was not the national commitment to civil rights that was to come later. Although the United States Supreme Court had ruled 6 years earlier, segregated public schools violated the Constitution, neither the national government nor the American public was yet committed to desegregation. The president had equivocated on the matter, and Congress had not given legislative support. The governor and legislature of Louisiana had encouraged resistance and tried every method they could think of to prevent desegregation. In 1960, only a handful of whites rallied to the cause. Not only were these children and their parents courageous, but they must have felt terribly lonely. We must ask ourselves why, against such odds, they decided to be first.
The New Orleans City Council has passed a resolution setting aside April 18th every year to recognize the extraordinary faith and courage exhibited by the four women and their parents.
How can I be born and raised in the city and never knew that April 18th was the date for the New Orleans Four? How can I be born and raised in New Orleans and not only born and raised in New Orleans, how can I take every single fucking history they have in Louisiana and nobody brought up the New Orleans Four? So it ain't just you. I'm from there and I don't know about these women. I'm learning about these women new like you are. That's crazy. Ask yourself why they would want to keep that from us.
They, as many of us, happen to serve as symbols.
That's another Creole, Sidney Bartholomew. My auntie used to mess with his little nephew. Great nephew, I think. But one of the Bartholomews. But that's neither here nor there. That's another Creole right there. Now, like I told you, it's a different kind of white, but it's still white. They have more of a tan to them because remember, they are mixing directly with American Indians or Black Americans, okay? So these Creoles, Ty say this is crazy. Yeah, wait till you get to meet these mother. I'm just playing. My grandmother, my daddy's mom is a Creole. Well, my daddy's grandmother is Creole. It's a whole thing. But neither here nor there. Yeah, this right here, the Bartholomews, my auntie used to mess with one of the nephews. He was I ain't gonna tell y'all because y'all gonna let's get back to it. He a Creole though.
Those of the hopes and the dreams of people who lived in this country for over 200 years. And it is fitting for us to recognize those symbols because they really embody the life of the slave who dreamed of being free, of the sharecropper who dreamed of owning their own farm, of many of the women who had to work as maids, who dreamed of having education, and those who were not fortunate enough to succeed at all, to see the symbols reach and personify those dreams and those hopes.
As the ceremony ended, Honoree Tessie Prevost spoke on behalf of the four women.
As I stand here today, reflecting over the past, many of our desires for the educational process.
Cajuns can be white or black. Cajun is more of an area. Not really Cajun can be white or black, but it's swamp people. No shade if you Cajun, but all the Cajun is the people who eat frogs and snakes and alligators for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Swamp people, that's all. But they could be black or white. Creoles are a race. Cajun is more or less of a not a national, not an ethnicity. What would you call that? Cajun could be black or white. Creole is a race. Cajun is not.
Process came into being, and it was only by God's grace that these accomplishments became a reality. As we appreciate the celebration, informing the people of the world of our struggle and the agony each of us went through, this is a celebration, in our opinions, which is long overdue. Realizing through the years how history can be forgotten by others, we would like to express our sincere thanks for the warmth and unity shown by the Citizens Memorial Committee for recognizing us and helping us to overcome the feeling of neglect. We would like to impress upon you that the special movement we made 23 years ago has benefited.
What is the Colfax Massacre? Who just put that comment? I'm just learning about this in the Colfax Massacre. I ain't never heard of that. You got me looking that up now.
Not only the children of New Orleans, but has made a tremendous impact on the people all over the world. The most rewarding and gratifying award we received was a kind expression of love, words of encouragement, and prayers which were bestowed upon us by our parents and the people in the community who supported us and urged us to continue our struggle. And because of their support, we were able to survive and are here today to commemorate this occasion.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut y'all off, but we might have to discuss this. Thank you for putting that in the chat, whoever put that. Colfax Massacre. The Colfax Massacre, sometimes referred as the Colfax Riot, occurred on Easter Sunday, April 13, 1873 in Colfax, Louisiana, the parish seat of Grant Parish. An estimated 62 to 153 Black men were murdered while surrendering to a mob of former Confederate soldiers and members of the Ku Klux Klan. Girl, I might have to see what that's about. I ain't never heard of that till just now. Wow.
I'd like to leave with you this thought, and I paraphrase from the late President Kennedy. Ask not what racial equality can do for you, but rather ask what you can do to help establish racial equality. Thank you.
Following the ceremony, there was a reception for the new.
You see how all they ends of their statements is racial equality, racial. Listen, let me say this. You guys. When you understand what is happening in the world, you can definitely further understand what's happening in the world. Does that make sense? I don't even know why I said that like that. It came out wrong. But anyway, listen. I had a dream like Mike. Really. I literally had a dream like Mike a little while ago, right? And in that dream, I tell people about this dream. I actually came on live and told everybody about the dream the next morning. If you can see it on the channel, it's a morning jose and it's called I Have a Dream. Just look it up, Google morning jose, I Have a Dream, so you know I'm not lying. It was done in real time. But I had this dream that told me, for long story short, it told me that everything is fake. In my dream, I had 3 men tell me, or at least one man of the 3, tell me that everything that I've ever known was fake. This is what the dream told me about a year or so ago. Y'all, if you was in the chat that day, you know I'm not lying. The dream told me any and everything you've ever known is fake. And I said, well, wait, what do you mean? It said it's fake. It's real, but it's fake. Meaning the things that you're seeing is actually happening, but it's staged. So then I'm sitting there confused in the dream, and then he goes, all the wars you were ever taught about, staged. Civil rights movement. This was in the dream. Civil rights movement, staged. Everything you've ever known about the past is staged. I swear to God, the Most High could take the breath from my body right now. I swear to God, I had that dream. I had that dream. The dream, the man told me everything you've ever been taught is fake to an extent. It's staged. Now, when I start to go and look into other things like the New Orleans Four and Ruby Bridges, the civil rights movement, that whole civil rights movement was a big ass movie. The whole civil rights movement was a movie. I'm sorry, the civil rights movement was a movie. It's no different from going watch Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You was watching civil rights movement 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, my nigga. It was a movie-ish, if it makes sense. Was people really out there getting water hosed? Yes. Was people really out there getting chased and bit by dogs? Yes. Did people go to jail? Yes. But was it staged? That's the question. What happens after these people get bit by the dogs and sprayed with the water hose and go to jail? Do they go home or do they really go to jail? That's the question you have to ask. And it brings me back to this movie every single fucking time. Because I'm thinking about the New Orleans Four, and I'm saying, why wouldn't Ruby Bridges be more vocal about the other three girls who went through way worse things than she did? What would she get out of excluding them from this integration of civil rights? But then when you understand and you pay attention and you ground and you open your pineal gland and your third eye and you in sync and you praying and you meditating and all that stuff, things just start coming to you and you start to realize the reason it's like that and the reason you're questioning it is because it's fake. It's fake, y'all. Martin Luther King's entire persona was fake. That nigga wasn't really even into the church, my nigga. He was outside gallivanting and fucking on white girls and allegedly boys too. Allegedly, I didn't say it. It was fake, y'all. It was fake. Everything, it was fake. It was real, but it was fake. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. And it's the same thing when you start to pull back the layers of all this stuff you done learned, and you really start to look at stuff the way that you should with discernment, and you realize we got played. We got played. And they still doing it to this day. You don't believe me? Go back to week 1 of the Diddy trial. If you don't believe me that they lying to us, faking us out, and playing with our mental to this day, go back to week 1 of the Diddy trial. Go back to week 1. And ask yourself why a large majority of people feel one specific way. No matter if you believe it or not, ask yourself what you believe, whatever you believe. Ask yourself, why do I believe that? Have any of y'all ever asked that? No matter what you believe, I don't care what topic it's about. I don't care how passionate you are about it. Has anybody ever stopped to ask, why do I believe what I believe? If you start there, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. So Ruby Bridges, although she was the figurehead of integrating Black schools and white schools in the South, the fact of the matter is it was a farce. Ruby Bridges was just a representation, but the New Orleans Four, or at least the other 3 girls, were the real girls who went through the beatings and the lashings and the racism. Those were the girls who were going through that stuff. Ruby, no matter how many times she tell you the story, y'all, it's all staged. It's all staged. I don't know what else to tell you. And it's so disappointing when you learn this type of stuff. I ain't even gonna hold you. I be telling y'all because I be excited to tell y'all, but I'm not even gonna lie. As a history buff, a person who has learned history and thought I knew almost everything there was to know, when I get to relearning this stuff, I ain't gonna lie, it really messed with me really bad. Cosmic Sun Soul, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you so much. And Alice Jane, is that how you say your name? Thank you so much for the super chat. I really truly appreciate you. Thank you so much also for the generous amount and also for making it rain. Thank you so much, Miss Alice. I appreciate you. I make it rain. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. I make it rain. I make it rain on them hoes. So yeah, thank you so much, Alice. She says, I never heard of the Morial family. Wikipedia says Ernest was first black mayor of New Orleans, but I'm looking at him. That's a cracker. He a Creole. Remember back then, if you wasn't white, what they made you? Colored. So everybody was in one box. So if you wasn't lily white, if you wasn't full white, this is where the one drop rule comes from. This is how they were able to keep the Aryan race pure. If you wasn't full white, you was other. So anything other than full white, they looped you into the niggas. So technically, is Ernest Morial a nigga? Hell no. But on paper, and probably on his birth certificate, he is. Probably. But with that being said, y'all, shout out to everybody in the building. I enjoyed learning about this, the New Orleans 4 with you guys. Please share this information that y'all be getting. Anything that you see online, anywhere that's new, especially if you can do the research on it. Anything that you can share, please share that with your family, friends, brothers and sisters, whoever you can, because this information is important to get out. Because we got a lot of people that have no idea about any of this stuff. There's a very small sector of Black Americans who are uncovering who we are, lineage, as far as our history. It's only a small number of us. I don't know if y'all know that, but I'll give you a better representation. It's only a small number of Black Americans who are trying to figure this thing out. Everybody else is chilling, okay? And you can see that. And I can use my channel as an example. This morning for the Morning Joes, I had almost 1,800 people in my chat. Every time I go Educational Friday, 200-300 tops. I'm not complaining. I love it. I don't even monetize the Educational Fridays. That's why y'all don't never see no commercials. I don't even monetize it because that's not what it's about. But I'm saying all that to say, we got to be mindful that it's a small number of us. We got to get this information out. We got to get this information out. And I'm telling you now, at first, niggas is going to windmill on you. When you start talking like this, niggas' immediate reaction is to windmill on you. Be prepared. You're going to get windmilled on. I'm telling you now. If you go around somebody who know nothing but history, nothing about the history, but what the education system told you, and you tell them Mike was really a fed, you're gonna get windmilled on. So proceed with caution. However, what I found is that if I continue the course respectfully and in a way that doesn't seem like I'm pushing my ideologies on people, I found that a lot of my people have come back and been like, you know what? I know what you said last year, and it took me a while, but I looked into it, and you was on to something. To me, that's all I need. So y'all spread this information and also encourage people to ask questions. If you don't do nothing else, you ask questions and encourage everybody else to ask questions. That's the problem. That's how we got where we are. That's how we lost our land. That's how we lost our resources. That's how we lost our economy, because nobody asks questions. You get it? Catch y'all on the next Educational Friday. Peace.
Can you hear me now? Oh, let's go. It's your boy Big Chew, the voice of the beat. You know what I want? Blaze up. Come on, Blaze up.
It's the beat for me.
Wah, 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 for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Drop it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Do it for your guy, for your B-O-Y. Come on, baby, we love. For your boy. Also for your boy. Fix it for your boy. Drop it for your Lift it up.
Mr. Carroll. How you give the voodoo doll time to talk? I don't get no fucking time to talk.
Who the voodoo doll is?
The nigga you just had up here.